an interesting thing is that the enabler of all of this is what people are calling big data. We suddenly have data about all sorts of things. People often think about Google or Facebook, but that's actually not the real big data. The real big data comes off of things like mobile telephones or credit cards or those Easy Pass things on your car, because those are about people's behavior. Suddenly, from mobile phones alone, we have information about 5 billion people in the world, where they go, who are their friends, what do they buy, on and on and on. And all of a sudden what that means is that you can begin analyzing the connections between them, hence connection science. And you begin using that information to begin to engineer the systems we have in society, the public health, the transportation, and so forth, to be more human, to be safer, to work more efficiently. And that's really the promise of big data. Now, the thing that then occurs to people is, oh my God, you're going to be spying on us, privacy. And so that also, of course, occurred to me. So for the last 4 years, I've been working with the World Economic Forum to try and get my hands around this and get people to take action about it. And we've been very successful. So we brought together the CEOs of most of the major telecommunication companies, the banks, the media companies, but also heads of governments from the EU, from the US, from the major emerging markets, to talk about this and figure out, is there a way to handle this? And the answer is yes. And we're beginning to see that in some of the great regulation that's coming out of the EU and the US. In the US, you have the Consumer Bill of Rights. In the EU, it's a basic human right declaration that's been made. And what those declarations and Bill of Rights say is that individuals have rights about data about them. So the cell phone company, the bank may collect this data, but you have rights to that data. And that's a great step forward, is to give individuals the rights to their data. One of the things that does is it means that data is now an asset that people own. That means that they can trade that for services. They can not trade it when they feel worried about how it's going to be used. And what we're developing is a whole ecology that treats your data a lot like how you treat your money. You know, you only give your money when you really want to do something, and you have laws and habits and systems to make sure that when you pay the money, you get the service. And the same is going to be true about data that's about your behavior. It's going to be just like your money. In fact, it may be better than your money in some ways. So we're making great progress towards getting out of the wild, wild west of data leaking under doors, going out the back door, etc., to one where people are much more in charge of it. What that enables are these new types of cities and new types of systems that can make our lives better. So an illustration of this is we did a series of experiments where we looked at the data that comes off of mobile telephones, and we correlated that with people coming down with the flu, having eaten something bad and getting sick, being depressed. And what we found was the pattern of how you associate with other people, who you call, things like that, allows us to reliably diagnose when someone is coming down with the flu, or when they've eaten something that they shouldn't have, or when they're getting a little depressed. But before these things get really serious. It's amazing. And we've actually had a spin-off company that's come out of this called Ginger.io that's attracting enormous attention. For instance, the chief technical officer of the United States mentions it regularly in his speeches because it's like a third ring for the healthcare system. This is something where instead of having to go into the clinic, it warns you when you're getting sick. It helps people actually prevent outbreaks of things rather than just know when they're happening. Another sort of area that's really exciting is actually in management of companies. So today, if you look at companies, the most valuable thing they have is information about how they work and what's happening. And the really valuable information is always transmitted face-to-face or over the telephone. It's very rarely in documents and things like that. But no company in the world keeps track of all the communications, the face-to-face communications. So in essence, they don't know where their information is or how it flows. So what we've done over the last several years is build these little name badges that just keep track of the flow of information. And when you look at that, you can do one thing that's very simple that turns out to be revolutionary in terms of companies being able to be successful. You can see who's in the loop and who isn't in the loop. Does people actually talk to customer service, or do they not talk to customer service? Do the people in the group actually talk to each other or not? That simple bit of information turns out to be the biggest determinant of performance in companies. So it's not what you say in the strategies and things like that. It's these simple patterns of communication that you can now measure. And if you feed it back to everybody, people are comfortable with it, because if everybody can see it, it's not like being spied on. And again, we have another spin-out company called Sociometric Solutions that's beginning to do this for Fortune 100 companies to make sure that this part of the company actually talks to that part of the company, so when they build something, the pieces fit together. So a third example is in the financial markets. So everybody has had the experience of trying to make a little money for retirement or for saving for your kids, and it always seems like the odds are stacked against you. And so recently we did an experiment with a company called eToro, which is a social trading company. It's like, E-Trade or things like that, where you can buy and sell stocks and so forth. And of course, what most people do is they don't do it very well and they lose their money and so forth. And what we said was, well, maybe what we can do is we can improve the communication among all the customers so that they're more educated and can make better choices. And what we did is we tuned the social network, the conversations that people had. And what we found we could do is we could raise the return on investment that the customers got by almost 10%, just by making sure that they were getting better information. And that's going forward in a spin-off that's called Athena Wisdom. The thing that's important in this message, right, is that there are these big chunks of society that were designed in the 1800s. I mean, banks, public health, they're pretty hopeless in many ways. And by using these new methodologies, you can make them dramatically better. And the other thing that's really interesting is that it makes them much more consumer focused. It's not run by the big guys anymore. It's run by the people. So like in the financial trading, that's of the people, by the people, for the people. It's not some rich banker there that's the one that makes all the money out of it. Or in the public health example, the Ginger.io example. That's people watching out for themselves, being able to get help as they need it proactively, without having the doctor be in charge, right? Or in the Sociometric Solutions example, that's employees being able to see what's really going on. It's not, some guy designing an org chart and stuff like that. So as we begin to understand how to make these networks of people and machines work together better, we get to something that is a much more egalitarian world where the individuals are much more empowered. Assuming that we can all take care of the privacy and the data ownership things. And that's hopeful, but we need to keep our eye on that ball, because that's the danger.